Hello again, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks for joining our session today. Thank you for choosing SoGoSurvey to begin with. We are really excited you were able to join us for today's webinar session with so many big and small features, new features and enhancements added to our platform in 2021. We would like to celebrate and reflect on a few of our favorite things and features in the platform. And again, super excited to have you here today with us on the call. We are hoping that this session would be entertaining as well as educational. There would be some opportunities to win some prizes along the way, but really the main goal is to make sure that everybody could boost their survey expertise and be more confident and even more successful with the future surveys that we're going to create in 2022. I am excited to introduce our host today. From my side, I'll be just moderating today's session. My name is Natasha. I'm Director of Product Marketing at SoGoSurvey, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Melissa Kratt. He is VP of Success at SoGoSurvey, Melissa and Mary McCormack, who is Senior Account Manager at SoGoSurvey. They both work with our clients and partners on a daily basis, helping to leverage our online survey platform to really drive that relevant and accurate market insights, employee insights, voice of the customer insights, helping you creating those successful surveys. And I'm really thrilled that they'll be hosting our webinar session today. Hi, Melissa.
I'm very thrilled as well, too. I have my frosty friend there with me, of course. I'm very happy to be here. Obviously, high bar you've set up here, educational. It should be fun. There should be prizes. People should learn stuff. I don't know, but I think, Mary, we've got this, right?
We definitely have this. I'm pretty excited to, tis the season. I've got a Christmas tree on my head in this picture. So really excited. It's only fitting for us to share our favorite things with everyone today. But Natasha, I'm really excited to hear more about these prizes.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite things for today's session. That's always fun to celebrate the year, celebrate the accomplishments, celebrate our clients, our relationship and partnership. So we hope that you'll enjoy today's session. And yes, so how can you win those prizes? And what are those prizes? Many of you probably received the survey from SoGoSurvey after you registered for this session with some questions, some assessments about the features. And so Melissa definitely will have more information on that, what that means, what are the results, who are the lucky winners. But also for everybody here today, we would love to hear from you. This is not a lecture. This is a different kind of a webinar. We really want to exchange that experience, make sure that it's helpful. Any questions, any comments that you may have, answering the questions we might have for you. That's just all it takes. And then, we'll see how those lucky winners are. It'll be like very natural, going. So no.
I like that you said these questions we might have for you, like, Maybe. Heads up. I know they've got they're ready at the keyboards. I can feel it.
Yes, absolutely. But overall, here's what today's conversation is going to be about. Definitely focusing on those latest and greatest and most loved survey features in 2021. What's new in the platform? Testing your knowledge a little bit. As I said, there was an opportunity prior to the webinar. If you haven't got the assessment, we'll do something during the session. But then also we'll talk about some common mistakes to avoid, and so what are those best practices, and then you'll be able to see and compare how your best practices stack up with our community of users. So that's our formal, informal agenda. But before we begin, a few housekeeping details just to make sure that everybody has the best webinar experience possible. As you may have already noticed, everybody is muted once you join the session. If you have a question or comment to our presenters during any time during this webinar, please use Q&A or chat widget, which is on the bottom of your screen. Just type it there. I will bring it up. We'll also have dedicated time for Q&A time at the end of the session. The session is recorded, so you will receive the materials after. And as I said, there would be, that's not a lecture, there would be a conversation, there would be some questions back at you. So we'll see how that goes. And with that, I would like to hand this over to Melissa.
Awesome. We'll see how this goes, ... So I'm excited as well too. We're trying to do a few different things here today. So thanks, Natasha, for the intro. And thanks to all of you who participated in the pre-session survey, like Natasha mentioned. Some survey questions, some assessment questions, just shaking it up a little bit. We asked about your stories, your favorites of 2021, but we also gave you a quiz. And kudos to you who decided to participate in it. And so, surprising result, interestingly enough, in addition to asking you about your favorite features, your awareness or knowledge of those features, I also asked at the end, because we love the thumbs up question type, potentially thumbs down, that's true, like, dislike, turned out 50-50 right on the nose here. Some of you felt really confident about what was in here. Some of you were well aware of how much there is going on in the platform. And that's exactly why we're having this session today, of course, because there are so many things. Thanks to our product team, thanks to all of our users who give all of that good feedback all throughout the year. So, I mean, because Natasha's really excited about prizes, there have to be winners. So obviously we're all winners, as we know, but yes, cheers, Margaret, Helen, Gina, our top winners in the great success of, so I'm going to do this awkward clapping right in front of you. But yeah, prizes coming your way, very exciting. Not a call out to embarrass anyone, but really exciting to see, you know, really good information, well-known information, I would say in some cases. On the next slide, there were 10 items that were in this, the quiz portion of that show. I split them across here a little bit. Yes, in the area of, yes, we know this stuff. That's the green, you know, somebody checks a list twice, naughty, nice, you know, however you want to look at this list as well too, but green is good. So a lot of really good knowledge of some of these pieces up at the top, semi-anonymous surveys, CX tags, rules and alerts, and default account settings, some of which we will talk about later. It could be just because a lot of those were true and false questions. That's possible too. I'm not discounting anyone's knowledge of those features, but really interestingly, a lot of things down here at the bottom, these are things that are, some of them are newer, some of them are less well known, and some of those are things, of course, that we will continue to talk about throughout our session as well too. But things like pre-population, like that's not a new thing, but there are new things about it. Or Omni report, that's not a new thing, but there are new things about it as well too. So a lot of the things that have been happening this year, some of them are brand new, like signature question type, and some of them are that continued enhancement that we see going on well across the platform. So like I said, many of these will come back to you. We'll revisit a lot of the red items. So, you know, my background is in education, so I can say like, I'll see you after class about the red ones, but we'll just continue talking about them throughout the rest of this session. But first, because we keep saying, let's make it a little bit different, we're going to give you a pop quiz. I said flash quiz because it seems nicer. I don't know if you feel like that seems less scary or not. But what's going to happen in just a moment when I say go, Natasha's going to go to the next slide, and there's going to be a question on there with 4 answer options, A, B, C, D. So get your chat ready. You can see your chat down at the bottom of the screen. First person with the correct answer. Surprise. Natasha, are you ready?
Always ready.
Ready, go!
All right, so here's our question. What's new in the platform in 2021? Wow, I didn't even read the question yet. and the answers, and I see the responses coming, but I'll keep going, right? So we definitely don't see there is a consensus. Different people are choosing different results and answer options, but yes, what is new? What do you think is new? Wow, Melissa, I'll let you comment.
So yeah, I don't see any A's, so that's okay. I do see an A. Yeah. Wow, that was very efficient, I guess. Okay, there are going to be a couple more questions like this on the down our list today, but yeah, amazing, good interactivity. So unfortunately, A is not the correct answer. Recurring invitations is one that we've had for a good long time. This is setting up that recurring delivery Scheduled report delivery, also not new because we're all about convenience, right? Those are things that we like to have. Keep inviting people on the same list, perhaps, maybe pulse check, something like that. Scheduled report delivery, send your boss a report every Monday, for example. That kind of a scenario is a good one. D, touch rules. That's one that's been around for a while. Touch rules is stop over surveying people. It annoys them, hurts your response rates. So the correct answer, congratulations, those of you. And Natasha, I'm sure that you have the top of that list captured. So congratulations. C, multi-select pre-population. So pre-population, do you see I gave you a little teaser like 2 slides ago? There's some new stuff in pre-population. Awesome. So Natasha, who we are congratulating the first C?
We are congratulating Greg.
Congratulations, Greg. Well done. We see that you were successful in this one. So yeah, whew, that was pretty exciting. Okay. Whew. Now let's just do a boring part where we just have another slide and then we'll ask you some more questions. Just kidding, it's not boring. But I did want to give a shout out to some of the things that some of you actually, because this first part is some of the feedback that you've shared with us, some of the shout outs that we've gotten on like, ooh, what did you like in 2021? It's not actually new stuff. So like, ooh, the master log. Yeah, that's not new. It's really, really cool. It's all of that, all of the interactions that you've had from your account, all of the invitations you've sent, no matter what type they are. All of that stuff is tracked there. All of the contacts you've sent to, it's like track, but for the entire account. Very cool. Survey templates, quick access shortcut, and lots of other stuff that isn't new. You see why I gave like this black and white picture, like it's sort of faded, like it's vintage. But this is still recognition. We're still like excited about all of these features as well too. And so just a shout out to all of the features that didn't make this deck because they're not from 2021. Mary, is there anything else that you would add to this list? Obviously you work a lot with our clients. So what's something else that you would add to this list?
Yeah, something that's not really new, but our clients are really excited about is the ability to embed questions in email templates.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And it's kind of interesting because it is one that we've had for a while. Like it really helps with engagement, not forever, but for a good while. But in our last release, we gave a little extra nudge to it. We rearranged it a little bit so it's easier to find within email templates versus just as part of the publishing process. So definitely a good one. Natasha, anything else that comes to mind? Things that you've been hearing from clients in case studies, things that people have been talking about?
Oh, I could definitely say analytics and reports. That's just been all over. And I would say it's also very much in line with what I experienced when I joined SoGoSurvey earlier this year and went through onboarding process. I was really like, oh my God, like, why didn't I know about this? Yep. So OmniReport, I'd say OmniReport is the winner.
Fair. Yeah, not a competition, but you're right. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot. And so, yeah, if people were our features, Natasha would also be one of our feature focus items for 2021. We're very happy to have her on the team as well. So good perspective. All right, so let us get to the heart of it. This is the greatest hits portion of our show. The feature focus on the next slide here will lead us into the feedback we've collected from, not just from you, but also from Mary, from our internal team, and from myself, because I also have things that are on my list. We make that list, check it twice, and we all put different things on it because we're all working on projects from totally different angles. So what we're looking at here is a few of your favorite things that you pulled out. Signature question type. Some people probably think it's our signature achievement of the year. No? Okay. Export to PDF. Mary, what is the deal with PDF? Because this is something that we have had so many people so excited about. What is the difference between a PDF and anything else on earth?
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting that we have this now as an export option. Our clients are really excited about it because this is one that provides more control over the report. It keeps it more protected and people aren't able to edit it, and it brings more security to the data. Are
you saying that you feel like people manipulate their data? That always makes me nervous when people are like, oh, I just want to play around with the data.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, good. That's the truth. It's a good, yeah, I agree. Totally agree. It's an easy way to share, and that kind of thing keeps it locked in place. And also score sorting. So to reiterate Natasha's point about Omni, and to lead into our next slide, which is from Mary, Mary, this is where we're going to start. Omni is not new, Mary, but it just keeps going and going and going.
It's not new, but we had so many great new features and updates over this past year, so it was hard to narrow it all down to just a few, but I have a few here, and I'm really excited to share this with everyone today. First, we'll talk about how our one-stop wonder Omni report continues to expand its capabilities, how within rules and alerts, there is a more customized automation, and lastly, how in default account settings, you can have more control over your branding. So on the next slide, please, we'll jump right into the Omni. So as I mentioned, Omni report continues to grow and be enhanced in all of its capabilities, and it's allowing more options to view your data in different ways. So for example, with a rating scale question, the default is a % metric that Omni automatically provides. But now you have alternate data visualizations with new graph metrics that allow you to view the responses as an average weighted score, net intent, or even % favorable. People may also want to see an overall score. So if you'll click the next one, please, you will see, so within the scores in Omni, you can see an overall score for all of the rating questions, and it also allows you to pick and choose those questions or even group them together. So you have a lot of control of how you want to see those scores together. And then also with the new features in Omni, if you are a big fan of that cross tabulation report, as I am, the original one is now moved into the legacy folder, but crosstab is now a feature within the Omni report itself, and it allows you to really drill down and see what the impact is. You can compare data across multiple dimensions. It's a really simple and easy to use widget to allow you to dive into the responses. And then on top of that, you can apply some conditional formatting to create a nice heat map and display participants' responses. So those are some of the high-level takeaways here for Omni on this slide here. Melissa, did you have?
I have to underscore score, like that. I need the joke here as well too. But also, I think it's a good point that you've made too, that Omni by default, we'll start to make this joke. It's very blue, isn't it? Like there's a great deal of information up there up front. But by hovering, by clicking on these magical little dots, there's a lot of stuff under there. And for those rating questions, those are things that people are using more and more for that key takeaways, because you have different audiences. Like maybe you are super interested in every detail of your data, but your boss or managers at different locations or different audiences care about different stuff. As a teacher's perspective, people don't always want to know, students don't always want to know all the details of the analysis. They just want to know, did we pass? What was my score? And I think that score options really give a lot of customization there. Like, what do you want to count as part of that score without getting into assessments? So love it.
Right. So continuing on with some new features within Omni, if you've been sending shareable links to your saved reports to members on your team, and maybe you've wanted to allow them to have to drill down into that data, well, you can do that now by enabling the report link filters. So once you've applied that filter and saved your report in Omni, before you send it, all you would need to do is toggle on this, allow that viewer to filter the report, and then it allows them to drill down into that data without them having to have their own SoGoSurvey user license or even have access to the platform. So giving the person that's receiving that report the ability to drill down on that data on their own, it's a great new feature that we're excited about. So with rules and alerts, just a few updates here. It's not new, but we've expanded some of its features, particularly around giving you more control over the who, why, and when. So now with conditional alerts, you have that ability to trigger an alert based on multiple conditions. So for example, here we want to be notified when someone selects dissatisfied or very dissatisfied, but also decide who should receive that alert based on location. So through setting the logic of the conditions, you can match all or any, or even set your own custom combination. It's really providing you a lot more flexibility with setting up these conditional alerts. And then once that condition is met within the workflow action, where do you want it to go, or what do you want to happen next? So we've expanded beyond sending email alerts, and you can decide what happens next. So bringing it not to just your attention, but also pushing it to where it needs to go, either through email, through HTTP targets, or even pushing it through Salesforce. And then lastly here, so you've built the perfect survey. You've spent hours in your visual settings. You've chose your brand colors, and you have the perfect style template saved. And then even in your Omni report, you've set your custom palette based on your branded colors, all within the Omni report features there in that custom graph. But now you have that ability to set default account settings by choosing your saved style from visual settings, as well as that default Omni color. So this is a great time saver, but it's also great if you have multiple users in your account, and maybe you have that one person who gets a little carried away when they're, designing that background for that survey. This allows you to have more control over your branding through setting these default account settings.
I have to say, Mary, as somebody in marketing, you just really, just got me here. This is just so important from, I guess, everybody who ever been in marketing, know how much we care about our colors and logos and brands. And yeah, it's just, I think such an easy and intuitive way then to encourage that consistency and brand recognition across all the surveys that are created. So thanks for choosing this one as your favorite.
Yeah, thanks.
Good endorsement. Okay, you ready?
Oh yes, another flash quiz. Melissa,
okay.
Take it away.
Okay, I can see, I know how fast everyone was the last time, so I don't even know why I'm saying get your fingers ready. But, so I'm just gonna give you a not yet, Natasha. I know how excited you are too. I'm going to give you a preview. This question is about piping. I know. It could literally be about anything. I totally understand. This question is about piping. We know piping, right? Go! Where is it not possible to pipe into in the current platform at this moment? Wow. Okay, I feel pretty good about this one. Give it a minute here. All right, so that was pretty fast stuff. So piping, we know, is similar to the idea of mail merge. We have some information that we know here and we push it into somewhere else. So piping, we have expanded this year as well. Piping, yes, you can pipe into questions. You can pipe now into answer sets. You can pipe into grid questions, the thank you page or results page if it's an assessment. Instant thanks emails, yes, of course, you confirmed. We'll see you on Thursday, that kind of stuff. And rules and alert subject line, just like Mary was saying earlier, moments ago, in fact, the idea that you're just getting an alert that says, hey, or even worse, alert, giving people more information up front, giving your team members, especially if it's a quick take action, they need to know the most important information up front as well too. So same page questions, E is exactly correct too. Obviously that we know that information is pushed from one page to the next once we hit next. But also too, if that's something that you want to avoid, use hidden pre-population on a preceding page and it will already come filled on the first page that participants see. So lots of cool stuff that you can do with piping in conjunction to other things like pre-population or logic or some other features as well too. Natasha, who are we excited to recognize? Sorry about that.
We are excited to recognize Well, actually, Greg again. You are doing really great, really great, Greg. And also, I'll call out the next name, Anthony. Also, like really close in time, and I think we'll get to more than one name here.
I like to say sometimes it's not a competition, but that's definitely how we've set it up. So got it. Awesome. Piping, check it out. Which brings us to, good, clear segues throughout here. Brings us to the next portion, which is we asked our internal team some of their most exciting feedback, which is on the next slide. And so that says, Sogo says, guess what? It starts with piping, which is where we got this question from. Some expanded piping. We have more controls over how we can pipe, where we can pipe. Very cool, very exciting stuff. Again, customizing the conversation. We know it's the overall best practice. Engage your participants. It helps with response rates. It helps with data quality, all of that good stuff. Offline participation is one that Mary was very excited about as well too, but showing it off online is really not the same kind of idea. So if you're collecting data in the field or somewhere where there's spotty connection, it's a really great functionality, along with as well engagement report enhancements too. So those of you using our customized engagement report, you have the ability to control what does highly engaged mean after all, or what kind of content, what text do you want up front. So beautiful looking report, really useful data as well too, and now it's better than ever. But the biggest one in the word cloud, because we know this is how those work, is in the area of CX. So SoGoCX, tags, and predictive analysis. So this is the one that gets its own slide on the next slide. I apologize, but I've called it Sixpansion. Just thought I would go with that, even though my colleagues weren't, totally sold on it. They're very, very kind to me. So this idea of CX, we've got so many different things going on. So the dashboard has really been expanding in general. We started with an overview. We started with some basic metric questions, those CX customer effort score, customer satisfaction, and NPS. Now there's a lot of other cool stuff, but in 2021, we're talking especially about tags. We also see on the next click, we will see milestones, shout out on that one. Really cool. How can you tell what kinds of things you're doing? What kind of impact does it have on the customer experience? Is it a new release that came out? Is it a change in process? Is it a change in leadership? So being able to track that on trend graphs is really useful. The next one then is comparison. So some comparison on the next click is going to be saying, for example, not just the overview, but show me those data sets side by side so I can know where in the journey or which location are we seeing those high points, the trends, the low points, the concern areas. Notice too, it's by metric, it's by time period as well. So there's a lot of opportunity to drill down on the slices that are most useful to you, and even side by side. Text analysis and also predictive analysis are also added there too. So predictive analysis here, text analysis, it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's tagged to some of those follow-up questions. Predictive analysis is this idea. We had key drivers on the bottom of that dashboard. We have key driver analysis report. Predictive analysis is saying, based on this metric that we are looking to improve, where's the greatest opportunity for us to make those improvements based on the most statistically significant drivers, which are the ones that we can actually take action on, because we all have limited time, we all have limited resources, but we all want things to be better. No one's saying like, how can we make things worse, right? Everyone's saying, how can we make things better with sort of the least amount of effort, the least amount of resource, the least amount of time, and sometimes even fewer people, which is something that we see is happening a lot this year across many, many different industries. So we're doing more with less in some cases. So this is a really, really powerful one. I'm pretty excited about CX. Mary, Natasha, anything you want to add about this? We talk about CX so much, but this is one of the only core slides we have on it here. I don't know how you could possibly add anything to all of this stuff, but I just thought I'd ask just in case.
No, I could just say from my end again, like what I'm hearing from the customers and from also our team members who are talking to the customers sometimes more than I do, is that milestones and definitely end goals is something that just like really helps to set up that CX program for early success. So I am just want to call out that one again.
All right, so yes, Sogo says, Melissa marvels, right? Those of you who know me well know that I'm really into alliteration. So My apologies, but it's truly exciting because what happens with a lot of these features is, you know, sort of we got your attention by saying like lots of features, new, fresh, exciting, and they are, but they're exciting because they allow us to do something, or they allow you to do something. So I work on employee success and client success here. It means that I have a lot of opportunities to think through how do our features power different projects, power different solutions. So post check internally, for example, versus you know, from the HR perspective, that 360 versus that external outreach to our clients through various touch points as well. So I pulled out 2 use cases. One of them that is in the area of automated distribution, and the other one is all 360 all the time. So we'll take them one at a time. I'll just act really cool about it. So automated distribution, the idea, when you think about it, if you take a look at just what we've just been talking about in CX, the idea of automated distribution really powers the idea of touchpoint follow-up. So instead of saying, it's March, so dear customers, we care about your opinion, now please tell us, right? Like that is good. And having an annual customer satisfaction survey is definitely not a bad idea. It's something we've done before as well. But the idea that you can have so many things changing, so many variables are changing over the course of a year, and we all know what that's like over the past 2 years, especially so many things are changing all the time, to be able to keep that pulse, to be able to check in over time consistently at that regular touch points in the customer experience or in the employee journey, it becomes a little bit difficult to manage, of course, which is where the idea of automated distribution comes into play. So I've already mentioned recurring survey delivery. That's great for employee pulse checks, or we do here, for example, like health checks when you're coming into the office. Make sure that, you know, what's your status of the day, what's your plan for the day, how are you feeling, that kind of stuff. Really, really useful. But we've got 2 use cases here. So one of them is that dynamic contact list update. So you can see up in the top right there when we've got those external sources. So maybe I have that ongoing employee list, which continues to change because also we're hiring, as a side note. Also, our team continues to grow. So just a side note. So it's exciting. So I have more and more people that I can add to that list. So through the magic of SFTP, I can have those lists for my distribution automatically updated. The other way to think about this one too, the other one that we'll see on the bottom of the screen now, which is so magical, thank you, is to think about doing those touch points, different distributions for different touch points. So if I have my banking example there, people who've come into the branch, people who've signed up for a new loan, people who've done a transaction on mobile or on the web, for example, being able to set up automated distribution. An invitation should go out to this person who has this kind of an interaction with us, you know, the next day, for example. So we have lots and lots of clients who use both, who use automated distribution through SFTP and CX as well, but it's not exclusive to CX. It's possible in other project types as well too. But that idea that you continually need feedback coming in, but you don't have time to just sit around, collect lists, and send them out manually every day, we get it. So being able to pull the right files, send the right kinds of invitations, use pre-population, use multilingual, and set the right automation settings. Which files should we send to? Should we send to the same ones over and again? Should we send just to the new ones, the top of the pile? It really frees up you and your team to be able to do something with the data in the first place rather than spending all of your time collecting about it. So I never thought I would know so much about SFTP, to be very honest with you, but it's turned out to be something it's just really exciting. So it's something that I've personally learned a lot about in the past few years, and we've really refined that process a lot. So it's a lot easier to use when we had originally started thinking it through, and it's pretty easy to explain and to set up as well too. This is not just a plug about this feature. I will stop talking about this feature and talk about the next one, but you can tell why it's on my list of favorite things. All right, so the last one on this is 360, which is my cheat way of stuffing in a bunch of extra features all in the same spot. So 360 project, we know the idea is I give feedback, I give that self-reflection about myself, and then people around me, peers, direct reports, managers, give feedback about me too. Super, super useful, good information, something we're doing internally at the end of the year here, testing out our own functionality as well. But this is based on a couple different things to highlight. So one of them Mary's already touched on. So if we look at the first click here, we're talking about segmentation. Good, makes sense. Here's what I rated myself. Here's what my manager, my peers, whoever, my colleagues rated me. Not only can I segment, I can also set now conditional data display, which says only show the data, only show this comparison between these two if it's an area in which the external feedback is different, is higher than my personal feedback. For example, that's a hidden strength. This is a really common structure in a 360. The opposite, of course, is a blind spot. You think you're doing an amazing job and no one else agrees. So those are things that you definitely want to have highlighted in the 360, not just here's how you did in each of these areas, but being able to highlight the most actionable pieces in the results for all of your participants as well. The other piece that comes along with this as well too is, wouldn't it be nice if it looked really pretty? Because interestingly enough, and it comes up and Mary's smiling because she knows it's totally true, we have a lot of conversations with people who are collecting really good data, but the most important thing to them is kind of how it looks, because they have clients or they have their own internal team members who have an expectation. It should look like this because we've always done it like this before. Totally understand. It's your data. You want to present it how you wish. So being able to add that cover slide, add some additional slides of narrative, describing the process, anything like that, that's the next step in terms of getting everything ready to go. But the final step that I'm so excited about this year is report level segmentation. So I put together my beautiful canvas, as Mary's already mentioned, and I put it together with this gorgeous, all of these rules and all of these gorgeous cover pages and such. And then I say split, right? So from here I can split it all into all of those slices by, in this case, an employee 360. So it's by employee. Part of the goal of that 360 is that employee feedback is for that employee. It's not for everybody else. It's for you as the employee. It's the things that you need to know in order to improve your performance or reflect on your performance from this year specifically. So instead of having to segment filter over and over and over again, the magical platform will do all of this for you. So you can split it where you're sending a link to each of these people. Dear Erin, here's your feedback, go team. Or you can also split it and export separate PDFs if you like, or PowerPoints, or however else you need it to come out, so that each of your team members has that specific deck all in the same structure, the same formatting, the same nice looking display, but their own unique data set. So it's not for anybody else, it's just for them for their own review. Natasha and Mary, are you tired of hearing me talk about how excited I am about 360s?
I am definitely not, because I could talk about 360s a lot too, just as the user, like somebody who overall enjoy going through this 360 process. It's always been in my past experience, like lots of kind of like manual work, reading through all those results and responses. So just the idea of having it at a glance, well, this is, but I think I'm so great, but people disagree, or the other way around. No, that's insights. That's not just getting that feedback, but that's like really that actionable feedback that could help you to really improve and grow and learn. And this is why we're doing 360. So I'm glad you chose this as your favorite thing.
I would be really disappointed if you were like, yeah, please do stop talking about that. So thank you, Barry. That was very kind of you to be back this way. All right, so this is the good news we've been sharing, but we also promised one of the things that we would talk about is some of the more unfortunate things that happen in the year. And if you're one of those people who's done an unfortunate thing or you shared a sad story with us, we're not going to call you out by name, promise you. And nobody on this call has ever done anything wrong all year. We all do the best that we can. But instead of saying, these are the fails and these are the best practices, you know these are opposites, right? Like, don't fail is the best practice. So we decided to put these together into a list of things that we would like to see avoided in the year ahead. So I'm going to leave it on the screen, but Mary, are there a few of these that you would like to call out based on your experience with people who have the best of intentions, let's say?
A couple of these pop out at me, and one of them is your voice counts. That is the placeholder for those email templates. So it's a great placeholder. So if you've accidentally sent out those surveys with that in the header of your survey, that's okay. But we highly recommend customizing that within your email template. so that the participant knows what they're receiving, what the survey is about, just a little bit more details. And that would also help boost those response rates. So that's one I'd like to call out. And then another one is looking down through here. I hear this one often, and it's the, I'm trying to segment my data based on a department or location, but it's not in my reports. Why can't I find it? Well, it's because the question was never asked in the actual survey. So something to keep in mind when you are thinking about how you would like to see things on the reporting side is if you would like to be able to segment by a specific group, then the question has to be asked in the survey. And I can keep going if you want, Melissa, but if you want to.
That's fair. No, these are some really good ones. And I mean, they're all good ones for the bad ones list, right?
Goodness,
so
right.
In no particular order, just thinking through, like, so when you're designing your project, a lot of these things, as Mary's just mentioned in this example, a lot of these things can be solved in design, but we don't realize them until reports. So things like the number one item, if I could just fix one thing in the universe, and perhaps we'll have a product enhancement that will resolve this in the future. Just stay tuned. Non-rating questions when answers are on a scale. When you're asking a rating question, but you're not using a rating question type, you're not collecting any of those weights. So all of those beautiful score options, the different graph metrics that Mary has shared already, it's not going to work if you don't have any weights associated with them. So that text box instead of single select, although segmentation with short answer options is now a possibility too. So not to wander too far down that path, but if it's something that you've realized you've done, it's unfortunate. Usually in many cases, it's easier to use that single select question, especially if you have a lot of answer options. But that's something to just be aware of. If you're intentionally using the text box, totally fine. But if you want to be able to segment or slice by that in some cases, just consider what the best way is to set that up. Contact list is for distribution. If you want to report on something, it needs to be in the survey at this time. So stay tuned. Again, the future, like this is the moment in time capture, right? So at this moment, just a reminder, just because you put information in a contact list, if it's not being pre-populated into the survey itself, you're not going to see it in reports. You'll see it in track, formerly known as track survey, but you're not going to see it in the actual reports. Your voice counts has already been mentioned. Your logo in a default ocean. So this means I didn't realize I could change the style of the visual settings. You can, and it can look really cool. Ocean is that default style in visual settings, which is a delightful color palette and combo. But if your logo doesn't match it at all, it's a little bit weird. So if you're not going to customize anything, that's one thing. But if you're going to customize a little bit, maybe do it all so it matches, because you want your brand to look good. And you want people to recognize this is legit, this is intentional, this was sent to me on purpose from this organization, not a halfway done job. Ooh, this one, sending new invitations instead of reminders. Intelligent reminders are intelligent. They only go to people who have not yet responded to your single-use link email invitations. So smart. I mean, the only opposite thing you can have is dumb reminders. That's basically sending new invitations instead. Please be very careful about this. It seems pretty straightforward, but it is something that we've seen happen. Shareable URL participants, public access, public access, public access. If you didn't put in an identifying piece of information, like please share your phone number, your contact information, something like that, it's just going to say public access, so you might not know who it was. Happens to all of us regularly, but it's just something to remember. If you switch your distribution plan, oh, I thought I was going to send an invitation, so I knew who it was. If you switch that distribution plan, just make sure you're checking yourself to make sure you have all of the data you need. In reporting, as you've already said, reporting on data that isn't there doesn't help anyone. This is the scariest one that I've seen this year. And it came to my attention after the fact. Switch invitations is an amazing feature where you've already sent invitations and suddenly you realize there's something that wasn't quite right about that survey. You forgot pre-population, you forgot branching, something just wasn't quite right. Switch invitations allows you to redirect those invitations to a fixed version of that survey. A typo you can fix. You can just edit in that live survey. Not all packages have all options for editing or changing a live survey, but this is one that you can do basically no matter what, I should say. So be really careful about that. And the last two are just from the client success side of the world. If you see a message that tells you what's happening, read it. We go through this thing, we're like, hey, I'm trying to do the thing. And I have a lot of calls with clients as well too, or we'll be looking at something on the screen, the message will pop up and someone will just close it really quickly. I'll say, that's the message you wanted. We're trying really hard to make an intuitive platform that's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. But in some cases, we need to let you know, hey, this is why that's happening. Or this is why you're not able to do what you're trying to do, for example. Or, are you sure you want to do this thing? The scariest example of this is if you need to delete a response, maybe from Track, for example, because you really, really, really don't want that data, our platform is going to check with you. Are you sure? Yes, you say. No, are you really sure? It will say again. Go ahead and type the word delete. Are you sure? Guess what? If you say yes after all of those steps, it's going to be deleted. And it's an unfortunate conversation to have with people who will say sometimes, oh, I didn't realize I was deleting it. That message is for you, friends. We do the best that we can to give people fair warnings. You know, you can make the decisions that you need to along the way, but please be very careful about reading the messages that are presented to you and ask when you have questions. Mary, on behalf of all the account managers in all the universe and all the support team, what would you like to say about asking questions?
Yes, please. I always encourage our clients to ask questions. If you have any concerns or just, you know, are unsure about anything, please reach out to us. We have an amazing support team. We have an amazing account management team. We're happy to help. So no matter how big or small the question is, we want to make sure that you're very successful with your projects. And you know, please reach out to us with all of those questions.
Not that anyone ever does any of these things, right? This is all just hypothetical. All right, one more quiz question. Get your fingers ready. Get your fingers ready. So,
hold on, Melissa. Sorry. I know that we're really excited about this one, but we just got one question about what you were just talking. So I thought I'll just bring it up here so we could finish that thought. So, can using switch invitations allow you to switch a survey from anonymous to not anonymous?
You cannot actually switch the survey. In that case, you would have two different surveys. So you would have the original survey, which perhaps it was the data that you collected. So let's say that I send out this survey that I think is anonymous to everyone, all three of us. Mary already participates, so I have her response in this one. But the new survey that I use as the destination survey, the switched survey, the corrected version, could be anonymous. So if Natasha then clicks on her link later in the day and goes to the new one, Natasha's response is anonymous. In the new destination survey, Mary's has already been collected. So the thing to do is to consider how many responses have I already collected in that first one. Maybe they need to get sent. Sorry, Mary, here's the explanation. But yeah, two different, sorry, again, totally hypothetical. None of us would ever make this mistake or have this situation, but yeah, exactly. If something is collected as anonymous, it will always be anonymous no matter what.
Thank you. And now we are ready.
Okay. It's really hard. I get so excited about that kind of thing. It does happen. It's okay, Anthony. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. It's why it's a great feature, but it's definitely for that like, oh no moment. And anonymity, pre-population, logic, those are some of the big reasons for it, for sure. All right, last question. Ready? Natasha, are you ready? Mary, are you ready? I'll stop. Okay.
Yeah,
go.
let's do it.
What is possible in CX as of this moment? Embedding, text analysis, line metric follow-up, key milestones, data segments. See how this is a good review? Do you always just know whenever it says all of the above and I'm really excited about something that it's probably that one? Yeah, agree. Yes, thank you, Helen. Yes, the correct answer is all of the above for sure. Yeah, if I was designing this as an assessment, I probably wouldn't ask all of these questions in exactly the same way. There are some leading questions, I would say here, but embedding questions in invitation, something that we've already talked about, it doesn't have to be CX project, but if it's a CX question, CSAT, NPS, effort score, those can be embedded in the invitation, helps with engagement. text analysis on metric follow-ups. Yes, those are those open-ended responses that are tagged as follow-up questions. New this year, very cool, shows up on the dashboard. Key milestones, we've already mentioned and underscored. Comparison as well, predictive driver analysis, everyone's favorite new video game of like, what if we did this? That kind of thing as well too. And yeah, of course the answer is all of the above. I could have also said, and so much more. All right, so in the last portion of our show today, we're talking about looking ahead, because there's so much stuff that we've talked about today, and we've got, I don't want to say there's no time left this year, but let's just look ahead a little bit. So Mary and Natasha, I'm going to ask you each the same question here. So what are, on the next slide here, what's your 2022 survey solution resolution? I love this slide here. I've got a few notes on there. Natasha, this is on the next slide. I've got a few notes on there, some of the things that we've heard from people in our outreach. But Mary, let's start with you. What are you looking forward to? What are your clients that you're talking to looking forward to as well?
Sure. So as an account manager, I'm really looking forward to heading into 2022. You know, our platform is going to continue to grow and to expand its capabilities. And I just can't wait to share that with all of you and with all of our clients going into 2022. Keep you updated. What I'm hearing from our clients and what they're excited about is really around that CX dashboard, really utilizing those tags that you mentioned, trending those touch points over time, and also seeing if they can predict the future. So that's a couple of pieces that I'm hearing from our clients.
I like predicting the future. It's like small goals, not just like, I want to use more question types. It's like, I want to be able to predict the future. Like, good, own it. Natasha, how about you?
Well, I gotta say, my New Year resolution is definitely just having more stories. I just really want to work with our customers and clients who are able to use all these beautiful features that we have, so we could share those stories and create some partner marketing opportunities. So that's just marketing me. But really, if like talking from the survey side of things, when you were talking about the mistakes and all best practices, depending on how to look, the one that really resonates with me is ask questions and think about like what you want to report on. So that is definitely something that I just as a resolution for me always to keep in mind, like when you create those surveys, when you put those questions in, what is that you're trying to get and what is that you're hoping to be able to report? So then you could ask the right questions, use the right question types and all of that, but really think about the end result. So that's my side of things.
Natasha,
what about you, Melissa?
You didn't even work here a year ago. Your whole perception of surveys and research must have totally changed since you got here. Is that an accurate statement?
That is absolutely an accurate statement. Yes, I am living in a new world now. What about you, Melissa? What are your resolutions?
Thank you so much for asking. Yeah, so so that next time if we put together a yikes slide, there's nothing on it, that everyone does such delightful things along the way. For me, really, it's using our solutions internally. Like when we started in March 2020 working from home, I'm actually in the office today. But when most of our teams switched to working from home, of course, we started to do pulse checks. The way that I've done pulse checks over the past long period of time, surprisingly, has really evolved. And I've switched now to using CX to see what that looks like a little bit, because I do love the trends. I love tags, the things that we can do now internally using our own solutions. That's one of the things I'm always excited about. That's that overlap of employee and client success as well too, and 360s as well. So seeing more of those pieces, I'm really excited to introduce more people to Sogo Connect in the new year, because that's the second half of the conversation with CX, for example, or for a lot of our conversations. When you ask people, hey, what's going on? How is it? Like Mary's mentioned, rules and alerts. Oh, something's bad? Let's follow up on it. Or, unfortunately, in this scenario, Mary gets the, oh no, something's wrong, let's follow up. And Natasha gets the, oh great, I have a story to tell, follow up as well too. So we see that there's very good conditions on that sort of ticketing, case management kind of front too. So very, very cool stuff ahead, I should say. We could just go on and on, I have to say, but I know that we're getting toward the end of our portion. So Natasha, any questions that have come in that I have missed? And I'm sorry, I forgot to recognize, because I got so excited on our last Natasha's prize is giving prizes, in case you were wondering about that. So Natasha, who's our third winner today?
You mentioned Helen. That was Helen.
Congratulations, Helen. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I definitely took all the names. So we are not going to miss anybody.
Awesome.
Yeah, regarding the questions, I've been watching for questions in chat, in Q&A. There's been one question that we already addressed. If there is anything else you have in mind and want to ask now, this is the time. You could use either chat or Q&A, whatever you're most comfortable with, or you could always reach out to us in the future. Oh, and the question just came. Can you score participants per section? I assume that is in relation to 360s.
That could be in relation to 1,000 different things. So
okay.
it could be within assessment categories. So if I have, as an English teacher, I said there's the spelling section and the grammar section. For example, if I want to know how participants scored, like evaluation-wise in each of those categories, yes, that's a possibility. If we are talking about score within Omni in terms of rating questions, yeah, definitely you can put together sort of the breakdown by segment or by filter if you want to look at one slice at a time, or side-by-side slices, what was the performance or the rating for each of those groups. To Natasha's point, yeah, it could be a 360. So we find out, wow, in the client success team, people are doing an outstanding job. Yes, they're also doing an outstanding job in other teams as well too. But yeah, so focus support call, we can talk through your specific use case. But the short answer is yes, knowing that there are a lot of possible interpretations to that question.
Thank you, Melissa. And one more question. Are legacy reports going to disappear over time?
Oh, this is a sad story. Like once upon a time. So I mean, you can see that they're gradually getting set to this port to the side. What I would encourage you to do is, if you have something that you really, really love, some functionality that you really, really love that encourages you to keep using a legacy report, please reach out to us. Please let us know what it is, because as you can see, Omni, the report that has it all, is getting more and more of that functionality. So if there's something that you enjoy doing or you like how it works in a legacy report, there is the potential that they will fade gracefully in the future. Not today, not tomorrow, but if there's something that you really are excited about holding on to, please drop a note. I know our email address is on the next slide here. Drop us a note, let me know, put my name on it as well too, and I'd be really happy to follow up and advocate for that if it's something that you are afraid to lose. But if there's nothing and you just really like how it works, we'd be very happy to schedule that support call with you too, to be able to talk through how can we help you achieve your goal with the expanded functionality of Omni as well. Don't be sad.
And Melissa, you just organically covered next steps on this slide. So the only thing that I have to add here is that, as I mentioned in the beginning of the session, we are recording in the next 24 hours. You will receive an email with the recording with the slides from this webinar. If you would like to get back to it or share with your colleagues, feel free to do so. And yeah, we would also always love hearing from you. And these are some of the options how you could reach out. And with that, I would say thank you very much for joining our session today, making it fun. And have a great day, everyone.
Happy holidays. Thank you all. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.